All right, we are live. Thanks everybody for joining us. We're going to give everyone just a few minutes to uh, get their stream started. So just bear with us for maybe 2 or 3 minutes here. Matt, how's your week been? Busy?
It has been a busy week here. We had a full weekend this past weekend with graduation for my niece at Texas A&M.
Oh wow.
My son had his state championship lacrosse game, which they won, and then Mother's Day. So it was a jam-packed weekend. So I felt like I've been playing catch-up ever since.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of fun.
It was a great time.
You're in Dallas, right?
In Dallas, so yeah, we have kind of a rainy, dreary day, which isn't typical of this time of year for Dallas. So it's got the little dark here in the office today because of that.
Yeah. Same here. I'm in Southern California, Temecula area, and it's just cloudy and overcast this morning. Hoping that the sun comes out later this afternoon. Any travel coming up for you, Matt?
Ooh, yes, we got June is the month of travel for us. Between we have son who plays lacrosse and daughter who plays softball. So literally, like every weekend, we've got a trip somewhere around Texas or around the U.S. So it'll be a fun month, but lots of travel.
Sounds good. Yeah, I just got back from travel. Luckily, I think summer should be pretty empty, but then back into the conference circuit like Q3, Q4. Got Amazon Unboxed, Amazon Accelerate, Walmart Let's Grow.
So I attended like both those last year. Accelerate was phenomenal. So like if you have not attended that, highly recommend that for sellers. Excited this year because Unboxed it is. Yeah, especially if you're on the brand side, free to attend.
Yeah.
The Unbox is always great. I'm excited. It's in Austin this year, so it's just down the road from us here, about 3 hours. Nice. And if you're not aware, like the Formula F1 is right at the end of that week, so stick around stay a couple extra days and go attend the F1 races in Austin.
Okay, that's a good pro tip. I did not know that. I'm gonna have to check tickets now.
It is an amazing event.
Are you going? Are you going to be there?
I attended last year for the first time. Had an incredible time. I mean, 400,000 people attend the race. Wow. It is insane.
Sounds like fun. Okay, I'm gonna have to do some research now. Maybe we'll do like a little Amazon lounge party at the F1.
Right. Book your hotel now because hotel rates go crazy.
Awesome. Well, I think we can go ahead and get started. So I'll kick it off today with my spiel. So thank you for joining another IntentWise Connect webinar. So happy to have Matt Snyder here from Brands Excel with us. He's going to be talking about what is seller fulfilled prime and what are the requirements, how should you be able to take advantage of it, and also just being able to analyze the opportunity for your brand to see whether seller fulfilled prime is a program that you should be considering. This is especially relevant, obviously, with all of the new fees and changes to FBA that have just now started. Actually, I think, unless Amazon extended that deadline again, yesterday was the day that the low inventory fee starts to be charged. So I'll let Matt introduce himself in a minute and get into today's presentation. Before we do that, I do just want to introduce IntentWise. In case you don't know who we are a software provider, and we work with thousands of the largest agencies and brands on Amazon and Walmart to help them grow their business with technology. We have 3 solutions that we offer. The first is IntentWise Ad Optimizer, which allows you to use rules and AI to manage your bids across Walmart and Amazon, Instacart, and Criteo. We have IntentWise Analytics Cloud, which is an out-of-the-box end-to-end reporting solution. We connect to every API from Amazon and Walmart, download all of your data, connect it together, and make it just much more usable and accessible for you. And then lastly, our newest and latest product, which is IntentWise Explore. It is an application for Amazon Marketing Cloud, or AMC. It's built right on top of it, and you can run queries, pull out insights, build audiences, all without needing to write SQL. You can just point and click within our application and take advantage of the power of AMC. So if you have any further questions or want to learn more about what we do, visit our website, send me a message on LinkedIn. Happy to chat. But without further ado, let's get into today's presentation. Matt, do you want to briefly introduce yourself and your company, and then we can take it away?
Yeah, Ryan. So Matt Snyder. I've been in this Amazon space now for about 16 years, actually. So originally got my start here in the sports world. So I actually see like all the Mavs memorabilia behind me. It's actually where I first started my career. I was working for the Dallas Mavericks, and it was after a few years working there, what kind of Amazon was growing in its space, and at the time, Mark Cuban had been advising a company here locally called Woot.com. So if you're not familiar with Woot, it was a kind of the pioneer of the daily deal business. So before Groupon, before Living Social was Woot, and so I got fascinated with this company on a whim. Just kind of applied for a job there, ended up getting hired, and had the opportunity to kind of lead our third-party marketplace opportunities there. Basically, what we did is we kind of took this idea of the daily deal concept, replicated that across these different retail sites. Amazon acquired the company in 2010, so I had the opportunity to work for Amazon for 3 years before starting another business with a friend of mine from Woot. Did that for a few years, and then the last 7, though, I've really spent just focusing on the brand side. So I was the vice president of online retail for Very, also known as Veridesk, where I led the launch of Amazon for 7 years, as well as our other third-party marketplaces. And one of the things that we did that was very unique during my time at Veridesk was managing Seller Fulfilled Prime. And through that experience, gained a lot of really strong understanding of this program, the benefits it could bring to brands, especially those who were kind of like Veridesk, where they started off as a direct-to-consumer brand, and Amazon kind of came second. Today, earlier this year, I launched Brands Excel. And so Brands Excel is a full-service Amazon agency. We really try to support those sellers who need more than just Amazon media, more than just Amazon content or product detail pages. So we work a lot with direct-to-consumer brands. Some cases we work with Amazon brands who are like on the vendor side, looking to go to the marketplace side. And what we say we do is all those other business operations that are needed to support your Amazon business. That's where we specialize. So coming in, helping brands kind of think through their go-to-market plans, what's their overall kind of Amazon strategy, working with them for the inventory planning and tech stack and all those different things. And yes, we can do Amazon media. That's really kind of those other core business competencies that we focus in on to ensure that all those are operating and working efficiently so that our Amazon media can be as successful as it is. And fortunately, we work with you guys, and so can certainly validate all the great tools that you were sharing earlier. And my personal favorite is the Explorer. The opportunity of what we're being able to do now with AMC is incredible.
I love it. Such a great background too. I think Veridesk is one of those companies that has just such an incredible story, especially on the marketplace channel. So you're listening and looking at the man behind it all, and so very interested to learn about your experiences, especially at Veridesk, going through Seller Fulfilled Prime, because this is something that ever since it really launched, it's been difficult, I think, for a lot of people to get into the program. I don't know anybody actually that's been into the program, so a lot of mystery around this one.
There has not been a whole lot of sellers, especially at kind of our size, but for those of us who kind of figured it out and where it's the right fit, it really has been a game changer for us. And glad to kind of dive into this today and show the sellers how they can approach or be thinking about it and really kind of hopefully address a lot of these misnomers or misunderstandings around the program, and help some brands who maybe have not considered it think through how they approach this and go through kind of an evaluation process to determine if this is a solution for them.
Awesome. Are you do you not have control over the slides?
I do.
You do. Perfect.
We do. So we'll jump in. We talked a little bit about Brands Excel, but again, full service Amazon agency. Again, we really focus in on trying to work with brands to help find their unique strategy, business solutions. One of those being here, Seller Fulfilled Prime, as we'll kind of dive into that. Wrong direction. There we go. So what is Seller Fulfilled Prime? I think we went too far again. Sorry, these controls are a little. There we go. So Seller Fulfilled Prime is we all know that the power of the Prime badge on Amazon, right? We know that when we have that Prime promise to the customer, it helps both from a traffic perspective, Amazon placing you higher up into the page rank. It helps from a conversion. There's just so much lift. And every time we have kind of done an analysis of having Prime on or off, we can definitely see that improvement in sales anywhere from say minimum 15% to as high as 40%, depending on the product category. So we all can agree that Prime is essential for sellers on Amazon. And for most sellers, that the way to approach that has been through FBA. FBA is an amazing program. It's really is the what drives performance and creates this opportunity. Most sellers will not have the resources or the capabilities to provide a warehouse, and the staffing and everything goes through that. So we're not here to say that FBA isn't something brands should be doing. It's really FBA is a phenomenal program. But when your products don't work or your kind of business model has challenges that rub up against these restrictions within Amazon FBA, that's where we should look at SFP as a solution. So with that, sorry, Ryan, I think my slides got a little messed up there. We'll work with it here. So real quick, SFP. Let's make sure I'm getting through. Okay, there we go. This is what I was kind of looking for. So the program originally kind of launched back in 2015 as a beta program. As you talked about, it was a small group of sellers. And what I think Amazon kind of quickly learned is that Prime promises, that's their brand in this. They wanted to make sure that they were able to protect this, ensure that the experience that customers were receiving met the expectations. And the sellers were kind of falling behind. They closed the program down, and they removed a large number of those sellers. So kind of sat in this dormant period for quite a while between kind of the 2017-18 timeline up until here just recently. Back here in October of 2023, Amazon reopened the program for new sellers. And with that, I think what Amazon saw as the opportunity here is one, is that running warehouses is expensive for them. And I think there's as we've seen in their last earnings call, is Amazon is on a mission to reduce their cost. And the ways that they're doing that is one, by the new fees that we're going to discuss here in a moment. But they're also looking at what are the products that are most costly for us, to where if we can create an opportunity for sellers to have an alternative option to move these products or off these products to sell the same Prime experience, that's a benefit for both the brand as well as it is for Amazon. The third piece I think that's also attractive here for Amazon is they're trying to think of more beyond just Amazon. We see that on the media side with their push into off Amazon traffic, or Amazon traffic leading up to off Amazon platforms. It's the same here. So if we can get a D2C brand and have them use Amazon media to attract customers to their D2C page, we can also kind of do the inverse. So a D2C brand has this established warehouse or 3PL partnership, they're doing their own fulfillment already. If we can make it easier for them to also come on the Amazon platform, offer their products, it's kind of a win-win for both brands as well too. So I think it's another kind of a reason to hear when Amazon went through this new relaunch of the program. So real quick, the question I usually get is kind of how do we determine which products fit the Seller Fulfill Prime program? And generally, when we say that before you kind of get into any of this, you really should, this is kind of the first step. So kind of considering the program, it's important to strategically kind of select items that maximize the benefits of the SFP while meeting customer experiences for Prime services. So, and we'll kind of jump a little bit into the, what are the benefits here a little bit later. But as we think about this, I kind of highlighted the DC brands. Again, they typically have kind of their own established warehouse logistics. Maybe they're working with the 3PL, maybe they have their own service, warehouse services themselves. But because they were kind of launched on Shopify, they have those resources in place. And that was the story for Veritas. Veritas started as a direct-to-consumer brand. So they kind of checked that box. They were also large and bulky, checked that box in terms of a good qualifying product for SFP. The others here that we generally see that work well, high-value items. So as we kind of think about products that are higher in price, so maybe say more than $200, those products, if they get lost, they get damaged, get misplaced in Amazon, yes, you can get reimbursed for those, but there's cost to that, right? You have the lost sales opportunity with those while those products are unsellable. If you're using a reimbursement tool, then you have the commissions you're paying on that. So it's just a costly experience. When something is at that price level, it's a much higher cost than products who are say $20 or $50. The other then are kind of seasonal, unpredictable demand. So when we talk to some brands who, especially kind of the holiday season, where they've got 30 days, maybe 60 days, where 80%, 90% of their business is within this small window of time. There's a lot of, as we all know, like if you've shipped into Amazon before FBA, like there's just so much that can go wrong. Your product can get sit there on a truck for a long period of time. And if you even miss, these sellers, they miss a week, if they miss a day, like that's huge impacts to their business. And so what we have found is like SFP can be a really good solution for these brands when they have these big, massive gains and then quick drop-offs. The other than kind of high variation counts, going back to kind of the lost or misplaced or misshipped, when you have a product that has 20, 40, 50 different type of variants on your listing, one, it's the maintenance of keeping those products in stock and available on Amazon, but it's also just a higher risk of those then getting misshipped or lost or whatever. Kind of talked about the larger bulky with Veridust. That was the case for them. Again, these products with the size and weight that they are, the fewer times that you can move these around on a truck or put them onto a carrier system, less opportunity for damages, less cost that you're putting into this. And with all these, we kind of talk about going back to a little bit of the benefits here is when we have all this product and it's not being moved around on LTL shipments into Amazon, you're going through the receiving time of Amazon and then making it sellable. One of the often overlooked kind of benefits here is that you as a seller now, you don't have that expense, but you also don't have the split inventory. So for especially brands who are doing, Amazon isn't their only channel, they're also selling through their own D2C page or they're selling other marketplaces. You have to kind of split that inventory. And if one starts selling faster or picking up than the other channel, you're kind of stuck because that inventory is then locked into Amazon or it's locked into Walmart or it's locked into another marketplace. But where you have that all in your own ecosystem, right, I can flex that inventory across each different marketplace based upon demand or opportunities or promotions that we have. I also don't have that capital expense of that inventory that's just unsellable because it's in transit. So you get improvements on your cash flow, you get improvements on reduced inventory, and you gain the flexibility to push that inventory across different marketplaces. So that's a lot. I'll kind of pause there. Just curious if there's any questions that have kind of come in so far. Or if, what we kind of share so far has kind of kicked any questions for you.
If you guys have any questions, feel free to add them in the comments from wherever you're watching today, and we'll address them. I think that last point you made there, Matt, is very interesting, especially in the context of the new low inventory fee, which may not affect you and your brand. But, for example, if Amazon now wants you to stock, previously you held 14 days of inventory or 7 days, might be a little risky in the first place. But if that's what you were doing and now Amazon needs you to essentially triple or double that and have 28 days of inventory, that could be a problem, especially if you're a smaller seller or just strapped for cash. So I think also if you sell on multiple channels, that's a huge opportunity for optimization. To Matt's point, being able to be flexible with where you hold that inventory, make it available, is actually a huge benefit to SFP.
Absolutely. So next, let's talk a little bit in terms. We talked a little bit about what you should consider in terms of your product size. What kind of the basic qualifications? Here, let's talk a little bit about what sellers have to navigate as they kind of take the next step in terms of understanding, is this a right fit for them? Oftentimes, the biggest hurdle here, as so in the past, was around if your Amazon does require for standard size products, which is the bulk of a lot of products, you have to have national coverage. So Amazon breaks it into 3 different size tiers: so standard, oversized, and extra large. And so the oversized and extra large has some flexibility on your regional services. But even with that, to offer pick, pack, and shipping at the rate and speed that Amazon's requiring us to have this, it's hard for a brand to scale this up. It's not really cost effective from the labor, from the warehouse locations, because generally you have to ship from 2 to 3 or if not 4 locations. So we have found that partnering with the right 3PL partner is really essential. One, these partners have kind of gone through the testing with Amazon from both a technology perspective, but also they have the resources and the training with their personnel to have multiple different location ship points. And some of these 3PLs that we've partnered with, they've done a really good job of like almost basically mimicking what the FBA program is. So you still get the benefits of low cost shipping, low management fees, and as we've done some of these cost analysis, we've actually in some cases been able to come to a brand and reduce their expenses from FBA.
Wow.
One example, we were working with a brand who product is about the size like my shoulders. It's lightweight, but it's oversized product. And so their product was about 18% of the retail price. And by like looking at the SFP model, we were actually able to reduce that down to 10%. So massive savings. And in addition to that, now we were able to take their D2C business and offer that same type of prime experience on their D2C site. So now, like, not only do they get the cost savings on the Amazon side, but they can improve the experience on the D2C side, right? You just made it more attractive or just equally attractive to shop on your own D2C side as you did, because we know that speed matters in this game. So those are two huge wins for this brand. We're kind of early stages. I can't say that what we've done on the D2C page, what the result has been. But I can tell you from the FBA side, the margin side there, like that's an immediate win that the brand was able to recognize.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, FBA is so affordable in many cases that it's almost crazy to think that you could save money doing it yourself as a 3PL. But this just goes to show in the right situation, which you just described like the perfect scenario, a not heavy but oversized item that is just bulky. Amazon doesn't want to deal with it essentially and make it cost prohibitive to do it that way. Matt, I'm curious, like, and maybe you're getting to this, so don't let me get ahead of you, but what is like the hardest part usually for a brand, or like the hardest requirement? Is it that same day turnaround time, or is it, being able to reach all 48 states?
Great question. Generally, I would say what's critical here is to have the right partners and set up, and to do the right vetting, and then have kind of the right SOPs or processes in place. What's typically I've seen trip up sellers in this example is not so much the getting the orders into the warehouse and the warehouse picking and packing and handing it off to the carrier. It's once the carrier has it and it's getting delivered that last mile, because you have to account for missed the truck, or there was shortage at the hub, or there's weather inclement. So all these different kind of factors that are outside of your control. That's usually the piece that kind of trips up sellers.
Makes sense.
But again, on the 3P side, what I would say is it's critical here is one, ensuring that you have the right technology. Because when I say technology, you need something that's kind of hooking into your Amazon seller account to get those orders out. And there's kind of two ways to do this. You can go straight into your 3PL partner. You can come into, if you have kind of an ERP platform for your brand, we can route it through there and then to your warehouse. There's several different ways. And it's one of the ways we kind of work with brands is to kind of help them think through the architecture of how do we want that order flow to work, but make sure it's streamless. And those are one of the things that we always have to have, like constant monitoring of that. So again, what can trip you up? Something on that technology connection gets off, and all of a sudden that order flow to the warehouses is broken, and you got to find ways to react to that, find it, react quickly to it. The other then is, I would say, is the carrier relationships. As you're just getting started in this, if you don't have established carrier relationships, that's usually another big hurdle that the brands need to kind of work through. And again, another big improvement here is some of the partners we work with. And I've got my pro tip here at the bottom, so I'll kind of touch on that a little bit here. We have worked with two really good partners in this space. The first being Where2Go, which is actually it's a subsidiary, or it was an incubated company within UPS. Oh. So they have all the resources, all the technology of UPS. So you get phenomenal rate offers from them. They are certified by Amazon to offer SFP. In addition to that, you can plug in Walmart, you can plug in all these other marketplaces as well too. So they've been a phenomenal partner for us to work with. The second is a company called DaVinci Micro Fulfillment. And what Corey and that team has really built up, again, a great resource. Corey has been a longtime seller on Amazon. So he knows the ins and outs of the pain points of sellers. And their model, where they have 6 locations across the U.S. they can tie directly into your seller account. So they're constantly pulling orders straight to the warehouse based upon those 6 different locations. They have carrier relationships with, I think, 4, if not 5 different carriers. And that's an important piece of this, because if you're kind of dependent on a single carrier, right, as I shared, the carriers are generally the one that's going to kind of trip you up. And so if you have weather's a whole different issue, but if in this case, what we have found is rates from different carriers fluctuate and can be better on certain regions. And so when you can have a UPS, a FedEx, and an on-track and a USPS option, right, then within each, we can have the ability to make those analysis and logical calls of, for this order, this carrier is the best option. For this order, this location, this carrier is the best option. So we've really found that those two have kind of the top notch in terms of services. They solve the technology issue, they solve the locations of having multiple warehouse locations, and they have the solution then for your carriers as well too. So either of those, I think, are great. As I tell brands, it's just like when you're evaluating any type of service provider, you can talk to a handful of other sellers, and you're going to get positives and negatives about the provider. And what I say is, each provider has its different benefits or bonuses or strengths. So you as the seller have to kind of make that evaluation to understand which one's going to be the fit for you. So both are great, but one may work better than the other for a certain brand and their type of products.
That's awesome.
Another just kind of pro tip here is you're kind of thinking about your locations. So one of the ways we have addressed this is we work with a company called Sifted. They actually have just kind of rebranding and do a kind of relaunch here, but we use them for our FBA reimbursement. So part of the service we give to brands that work with us is we do the audits, we submit the cases on their behalf for the FBA reimbursements. But what we really like about their tool is that it gives us insights into every shipment, from which warehouse FBA location it shipped out of, and then which address it shipped to. So we get this at the zip code level. And so as we're going then to either DaVinci team or Where to Go team, we can come to them with all this data, like, here's where the bulk of our concentration of orders is from both an FBA, where Amazon has learned this is the ideal location to have inventory based upon our hotspots of ordering. It just ensures that we have all those quick learnings that we can share with our providers and with our partners. Again, we're trying to get as close to the customer the best we can to kind of mimic that FBA model. So that's been another kind of great resource for us as we've worked with our partners to get those detailed insights to help us set the best model for them. So if at this point you're like, okay, I love what I'm hearing, yes, these FBA fees, the inbound placement fees, the low inventory fees, this fee, like all these are just killing us. And just as Amazon has made these changes, these decisions, that we have to find ways to improve, control our costs, improve our margins, you as the sellers, you have to be doing the same. You have to be thinking, how am I going to react to these? How am I going to change my business model? How am I going to change my strategy so that I can account for this? Because the options are either, right, we increase the price on Amazon so the customer's absorbing this. And then we all know that anytime you raise your prices, you're at risk of losing position, losing rank, losing sales. So it's not an ideal way to solve this. It's go to your supplier and can you negotiate a lower COGS? That's one, but the bulk of this if this is going to come between your COGS and to the end customer. So how can we do a better job of managing those costs, controlling our inventory as well as those expenses? And that's where we have found SAP to be a good solution. So if you've got to this point, you're like, okay, I'm intrigued. I've done, based on what we shared earlier around the qualifications, we checked some of those boxes. The next step then would be to kind of get in the trial period. This, again, we'd say before you get into this phase is you need to make sure you've done the review of your logistics and your fulfillment option solutions. We wouldn't advise that you kind of do this on your own unless you have multiple locations to work from. So at this point, we've kind of make the assumption that you've partnered with somebody like a DaVinci Micro Fulfillment, and you're ready to kind of go to the next stage. So to qualify first, dig into like the pre-screen, is a seller would have to, within 90 days, have self-fulfilled at least 100 packages, the cancellation rate of under 2.5%, and achieve a tracking rate greater than 9%. Valid tracking just being that what you send to Amazon is what it actually shows movement and delivered to the customer. So these are, it's kind of a low bar. I want to say this is a low bar, but in terms of, there's nothing here around speed performance. There's nothing around here like on-time delivery. It's just, can you handle 100 orders in 90 days? And when you send us to tracking, is it checking the box of actually being valid? So it's kind of a low bar. But again, the next, as you kind of build onto this, is where it would be really critical to have the right partner. So once you've kind of got through the initial screening period, Amazon's going to put you into a test period. And this is a 30-day trial period. During this period, you're not going to have the Prime badge on your listing, but you will basically be operating the backend as if the Prime badge was active. So in this case, we're not going to dive too deep into this. This gets a little bit too, the detail side, but one of the questions we often get is like, is this an all or nothing? No, this is not an all or nothing. You can have products in FBA, you can have products in Seller Fulfill Prime program, all under the same Seller Central account. So Amazon enables Seller Fulfill Prime for your seller account. The way you then manage that offering is by your shipping templates. So your shipping templates are where you're going to make the determination of how many different warehouses is this product located in? What are the carrier services we're offering? Is it UPS? Is it FedEx? Is it USPS? And then within each of those carriers is what am I offering? Am I offering overnight? Am I offering ground? Right. So there's a lot of kind of nuance and details to get into that. But with what the big important piece of that is, the takeaway is that it doesn't have to be all or nothing. We can select a small number of products to test with, which is what we would recommend, is that we just got to check the box of having 100 orders within 30 days. And so if you can do that with a single product, with 2 or 3 products, or if it has to be 10 products, we would say start with kind of a lower number of products to begin with, just so you have a better control over these different kind of factors that goes into that performance. But as we get into the testing period, so 100 orders, 30 days, and this time we have more of the performance metrics in here. So we have the on-time delivery rate of 93.5%. And so that means that it's not a on-time shipment, which is what the metric used to be. We used to have a metric around shipping on time and delivering on time. What Amazon has said now is, all we're really concerned about is like, we want to make sure that when we say the customer is going to receive this in 2 days, that they receive it in 2 days. So that is a big, it can be a challenging number to hit, is at 93.5%. But if you kind of done the homework and you've partnered with the right 3PL and the right carrier services, then this is definitely achievable.
Matt, quick question for you here. So what does Amazon consider, and this might be a very convoluted answer, but what is on-time delivery? Is that 2 days or faster? Does it depend on origination and delivery zip code? Is it ever the case that Amazon would promise like 1 day delivery for an SFP item?
Yes. And so the way that that's determined is when you're creating your shipping templates. And as I stated earlier, Amazon has 3 different size tiers for the program: standard size, oversized, and extra large. So a standard size, you have a requirement to have national coverage. And with that, you also have then what Amazon refers to as your speed performance. And so the speed performance is when a customer comes to your product page, based upon your shipping template settings, you have to have so many views that are offered a 1 day, a 2 day, or greater than 3 days if it's the oversized and extra large. So that's going to be determined on the time of day, where the customer is located at, where you have warehouses located at. So all these different kind of factors that Amazon's making the considerations of, and then displaying that speed promise to the customer.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the speed determination, how it's determined.
Very interesting. I think, that's been the point for me of wondering, like, how should a seller, especially if they're getting started, maybe start with those 2 day shipments more often than the 1 day shipping speed, because it seems much more easy to obtain. So
it is. And so if this case, if all you have is standard size, then you're going to have to kind of start there with that 1 day, 2 day.
Yeah.
If your oversized or extra large, there's lower requirements, and for extra large, like, there actually is no 1-day requirement. So if you have products of those size, those are the easier ones to kind of start with to kind of scale yourself up to the other services.
Definitely makes sense though to definitely work with a good partner who's used to SFP, because these are no small feats to be able to move items that quickly, especially if you do volume, like a serious amount of daily volume.
And going back to, we were sharing the pro tip on the prior slide here, where we're talking about understanding the right locations, and that's really where this becomes critical. Is if you set this up right, and you have generally four locations is what I would generally recommend across the US, is we can actually hit that 93.5% delivery and offer 1 to 2 day service with ground service. Usually 60-70% of it being ground service.
Wow.
And so where you're thinking like, well, God, I'm gonna have all these overnight and second day shipments. Yeah, there's gonna be some of those, but it's not gonna be the bulk. You don't have to actually use second day to hit second day delivery. You can actually achieve that with ground service.
Very true. That's all in the magic of planning out exactly where your warehouses need to be. Good point.
Absolutely. So with the rest of these are kind of similar in terms of the valid tracking. Right, we've gone from the 95 up to 99%, the cancellation rate down to 0.5%. And with this, one of the calls I'd have here is Amazon has a service called buy shipping services. And so as we talked about having your carrier solutions, just as today, if you were to go in to use merchant fulfillment, you can purchase your shipping through Amazon, but you can also purchase it through the service buy shipping services, but billed to your third-party carrier. So what I mean by that is I can take my FedEx account, I can take my USPS account from my 3PL, and I can plug that into my settings so that when I make this API call or I make the purchase through buy shipping services, it's still giving me the rates and charging it to my carrier account versus Amazon's. But the benefit here is that just like when a product is shipped out of FBA, and let's say that there's a customer leaves a bad seller review because it was delivered late, Amazon says that's on us. That's a delivery error. We're not going to count that. We will remove that review for you as a seller. You get that same level of protection here with SFP when sellers use the buy shipping services. The other big benefit here is that as soon as you complete the process of creating the label, Amazon instantly has all that tracking information. So it's ability for them to kind of check that off, clear the order, as well as then be able to see the movement of that order even better. So it's not a requirement, but we always highly advise brands to use this buy shipping solution for that protection, as well as the improved services with Amazon.
What does Amazon get out of that? Do they get like a commission on the shipping cost or something? Do you know?
So I think, for them, I can't say that there's necessarily a benefit on the carrier side. There may be, but I think for them, what it assures is that they get that tracking information much faster than they would before. And so it gives them better visibility. It also gives them better insights to be able to see like what does happen throughout the period of that shipment versus if I'm just giving them a tracking number, they don't necessarily have the full visibility into the order details as they would have.
Makes sense. Just more information about the shipment as a whole. Yeah.
Correct. So if you've gone through this, now you completed the trial period, and Amazon is saying that congrats, you've actually kind of completed this, and they're going to push you into the Prime badge. The only really difference here then from the performances that we see here is the 93.5%. They kind of break it up into two different qualifiers, and it's what they call like with promise, with extension and without extension. So I didn't note it here, but just something is to call out is that when Amazon's making this determination of your on-time delivery, things they're actually kind of saying is if say the delivery is a 2-day, sometimes what they may do is extend that by say a half day or a day is what is being displayed to the customer. And so Amazon's measuring, are you hitting, if we give you the extension, which is what they've always done kind of in the past, are you hitting that delivery? But what we really want you to work towards is this faster delivery time without the extension, which is more true to the FBA delivery time. So I think even right now, like I would say this is kind of a trial test where they're saying we long term, we want you to be even faster, by removing this extension. So they're kind of measuring both. And I'll tell you from our experience, like on the Veritas side, we are able to achieve that 93.5% without without the extension. What Amazon's going to do then is they're going to be measuring. I think I have it here. This next one, they're going to be measuring you guys on about a 7-day period. So it's from Sunday to Saturday. Is they're going to be looking at your performance metrics, and they're going to be seeing, are you hitting the speed performance metrics? Are you hitting the fulfillment metrics? And if you fall behind one of those performance metrics, they're going to send you an email. They're going to notify you of these errors that you're having in your performance. They're going to give you the opportunity to correct those. It used to be that you have to have like this plan of action that you would write, and it was a really pain in the butt to try to acknowledge my wrong, and how do we correct it? How are we going to
forgive me, Amazon?
Oh yeah, typical Amazon. And so they've removed that, and so that was a big win for us as the sellers to have that. So they kind of have like this strike 3 policy now. Okay, we're going to notify you once, get it, make sure you take action and address this. If that happens the second time, we're going to send you another notice of this infraction, and then the third time that they could suspend your eligibility. You're not kicked out of the program, but you're going to be suspended for eligibility. Basically, what it's going to do is kind of kick you back into that trial period of okay, you need to show us again that you've taken action, you've made the right adjustments here, and that you're then able to perform to then get that badge back into it. Some of the additional callouts here is you also want to be very mindful of this, is that coming up to big events, say Prime Day, we have Prime Day where everyone's prepping for Prime Day. And just as FBA, you get the options to do lightning deals, or you get the options to do Prime exclusive discounts and these different promotions. You still get those benefits with SFP. And I think that's another important call out here is to acknowledge that you still get these different benefits. But with that is ensuring that your Prime eligibility is maintained leading up into these big events, so that you don't lose out on those promotional opportunities and such. It's good. One thing I failed to kind of include here in the notes is that, and this can generally be another kind of big challenge for sellers to overcome, is the weekend services. So Amazon does state that you need to operate on either a Saturday or a Sunday. They give the option of either. So for most sellers, that's going to be a Saturday service. They do give the option of reducing your order cutoff time. So generally, your order cutoff time is going to be 2 p.m. and you can lower that down to 10 a.m. And you can do it for just your Prime offers. So again, it goes back to your 3PL. Both of those two that I mentioned, the Where to Go and the Vinci, they have those solutions already in place. So again, makes it a little easier to overcome or to check that box again of the qualifications when you have the right partners.
Now, Matt, I'm not super optimistic about the answer here, but what kind of support does Amazon offer around seller fulfilled Prime themselves? There's a lot of rules, there's trial periods, there's approvals. Is there anybody that you can talk to on the SFP team, or are you just kind of there interfacing with Seller Central?
Sure. We all know how stellar Amazon support is, right? When you submit cases or requests, right? I would say it is a little better. It is much improved from where it was prior to October. When we operated from essentially 2018 to 2000 to this last year, 2023, we had 0 contacts. When we had an issue, I would get an email from this alias, email group at SFP Performance. That was it. I had an email that I could send a question to, or a challenge or something to, but that was it. I never had an account manager. I couldn't even go to seller support, because nobody in seller support knew how to offer this. So as Amazon reopened the program, they did dedicate resources into this program. And where I would say they're not going to be, if you have like a SaaS core rep, it'd be a good way to kind of have your SaaS core work on your behalf to kind of go to the team and get some insights. If you don't have SaaS core, there are some ways to submit cases into the team. You're not going to necessarily assign you an account manager. I don't have an account manager or anybody like that. But we also had enough volume where I was able to get some context. When I do have a challenge, I can go to somebody. I've got a couple of different names that we can go to those issues. In this case, and they've been very responsive. They've been very supportive. They want this program to be successful. So they want sellers to be successful. They want to provide the resources when needed. So I said you can submit a case and it will get routed to that team where there wasn't a team before to at least to help respond to it. Or if you have SaaS core, the SaaS core can help direct to that team as well too. So much improved from where it was prior to October.
That's good. Yeah, you always want to see that when Amazon reintroduces something or introduces something new for the first time. If it's it comes with that support internally, that's usually a much stronger sign that they're going to stick around for a while and that it's something you should look into.
And interesting, we were talking earlier about the carrier services, is that Amazon is making a big push into the carrier services themselves, right, with their own delivery systems. So as of today, their carrier services do not qualify for Seller Fulfilled Prime. What we're hearing is like they're in the kind of trial phases or maybe a beta stage here for standard products to be able to qualify for SFP. But I would anticipate that at some point in the next year, like they will roll this out completely to SFP. So again, more and more resources being brought into the program that helps sellers as we think through like the bigger hurdles of 3PL or warehouse fulfillments and the carrier sides. A lot of new resources and support there to help with this.
Awesome.
So as we kind of get to kind of round this out in terms of how would if you're in the stage, what's kind of the quick start guide for sellers to evaluate is SFP a solution? So at first is assess your eligibility, review the detailed requirements of SFP on Amazon Seller Central. They have a lot of resources. If you're in your account, search for at the top, Seller Fulfilled Prime. It'll bring up all the different requirements and a lot of details there. We also have, and I'll share here at the end, we do have a kind of a comprehensive starter's guide that'll be really informative, help answer a lot of those questions that we can provide to you, at no cost. Understand the cost. This is a big one. So calculate the potential costs involved in upgrading your shipping to handling capabilities to meet Prime standards. And this is one, as we kind of started this, is that the misconception here is that everyone's going to think that this is going to be more expensive, more costly. And for some sellers, it may be. But with the improvements of the 3PL networks, with the improvements of carrier services, these costs have been greatly reduced for a lot of sellers and for a lot of different products. We would advise, work with our team or work with one of the two that I shared earlier. They have a very detailed approach to this of how can we look at your order history for the last 12 months. Again, where do we have our warehouse location set up based upon your order volume? They can give you a very comprehensive cost analysis to show you what the cost differences are. And then from there is that's one piece of the puzzle to kind of look at. The other then, as I shared, is how much are you going to reduce in your inventory on hand by not having the inventory held up in a transit period or receiving period where it's in unsellable condition? How am I going to benefit from not being able to have this inventory dedicated to Amazon or this inventory dedicated to Walmart? I can have it as a centralized location and I can flex across D2C, Amazon, whoever, or maybe you're not on D2C, but in making this transition, you've just solved the biggest problem that you had of like launching your D2C is how am I going to fulfill this? Amazon has some buy with Prime and they have some different solutions for that. But again, you're still under those same fixed fees that we were impacting FBA sellers. And so if you can now provide that, it gives you the opportunities to open up your D2C page, offer the same type of Prime experiences on your D2C page. Another great consideration as you're thinking through this evaluation.
And no D2C websites offer that. It's so rare. That's a very, very powerful way to stand out, I think.
Absolutely. So with that, what I shared, we do have kind of a questionnaire that we walk sellers through, just some basic qualifications and understanding of where are you at as a seller. What's your fulfillment capabilities today? If you have 0, that's fine. But with that, we share with you kind of our comprehensive guide. It'll, again, kind of walk you through more detail of what we talked about today, help you kind of pre-screen your products, your opportunities here. And then from there, we provide consulting services that kind of help brands work through all these kind of big challenges and ask the right questions, do the right evaluations of your 3PL partners, of the technology that's going to be needed to run this, do this cost analysis. So kind of walk you through a very comprehensive process to make that determination. Is Seller Fulfilled Prime way for you to avoid these ongoing increasing fees and gain that control that we talked about of your inventory, of your cost, as well as creating new opportunities for you to expand beyond Amazon, increase your reach.
I love it. I think nowadays there's the two biggest levers for most brands when it comes to optimizing, certainly for profit on Amazon, is their ads and their fulfillment. Those two will take up probably for everybody at least half of your margin. So when it comes to seller fulfilled prime, I think it's very interesting to see where we are today. I learned a ton from this. So thank you for your time, Matt, and sharing your experience, because this is probably going to be one of those programs that continues to evolve and grow. So I'm very curious to follow you and see what you continue to learn. I have one last question for you. You mentioned towards the end that at Vari, you were able to achieve the second category of on-time deliveries, the harder one, which was that even without the delivery promise, you were still making that on-time delivery. How many fulfillment centers or warehouses did you have when you were doing seller fulfilled prime at Vari? Because the other consideration with Vari is that those are big, heavy, bulky items too, right?
Yeah. I mean, in general, most of our products are anywhere from 60 pounds to 100 plus pounds, and in some of those cases, those were actually multi boxes. We didn't touch on that. Those are some of the other challenge you got to work through is like when you have a product that ships in 2 different boxes, right?
Yeah,
it has some complexities to that. So they operated out of 4 different locations. So kind of in Northeast Pennsylvania, and Atlanta, Georgia, Dallas, and in California. I'd say the only thing where they were probably missing, like if we could have improved and even reduce cost even further, would have been had something a little bit more northern Midwest. Okay. But generally, like with 4 locations, you're going to have pretty good coverage. Again, go back to the kind of the benefit of Where to Go and DaVinci, where they have 6+ locations across the U.S. You still get that opportunity of having a very wide coverage of services, being close to the customer. And we kind of talked a little bit on the shipping templates, right? You have control over, from my warehouse, how far out do I offer this prime service, so that I do have some controls over those costs, and knowing that if I'm concentrated sales areas is this close, 100 miles, 200 miles from my shipping location, and then beyond that, they're not going to have prime service, but they're still going to have fast delivery, and my sales in that area is far less than, right. So those are those controls you have to kind of cost control and keep expenses down.
Yeah, it's really interesting that 4 or 5 warehouses is all you need to be able to do this pretty much 80 or 90% of the time. So and benefiting from ground most of the time too. Well, Matt, I think that's it. We don't have any other questions from the audience, but while we're wrapping up here, if you do have a question, just throw it in the chat. We'll get to it. Otherwise, connect with Matt on LinkedIn, follow him there, send him an email. I will be also sending the guide that Matt mentioned out to everybody who registered. So feel free to share that with your colleagues, or reach out to Matt or I if you have questions on it. But thanks for joining today's session. Thank you again to Matt, and we will see you all on the next one.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right.